please leave a like, as it also does help this channel grow, and subscribe if you are new for more Borderlands content like this. Anyways, let's just jump right into the video. Before going further into this video, do note you need to own the Director's Cut DLC in order to access this boss. So anyways, the HEMIVOROUS fight is a doozer. Let me just say that. It's a very difficult fight. It takes a long time depending on your build. When you first enter the arena, you are greeted with a few Varkids and a Varkid pod. HEMIVOROUS is inside that pod. Now, if you guys played Borderlands 2 trying to get Vemiferous to spawn, it's pretty much the same way that you need to do with HEMIVOROUS. It's guaranteed, basically. Vemiferous from Borderlands 2 wasn't guaranteed. It took a long time, and you could possibly even kill it before it became Vemiferous. But HEMIVOROUS is a different story. It's always going to become HEMIVOROUS the more and more you level this thing up. So basically, you fight it as a larva kid, then you fight it as a Varkid, then you fight it as badass Varkid, then a super badass Varkid, and then it becomes a Supreme Varkid pod. Now, after this Supreme Varkid pod, that's when the raid boss actually starts, and Vemiferous actually also comes out of the pod with HEMIVOROUS, so that's amazing. I didn't know that. So since you are fighting two raid bosses, I have you know, HEMIVOROUS the Invincible and Vemiferous the Invincible, two raid bosses are in this fight. And I mean, the first step that I would highly recommend anyone doing is to get one of them flying. Now, to get them into the flight mode, you pretty much need to just dial down their HP to about half its armor. Once their armor is at half, they start to fly. The only reason why you're going to be doing this is so you can focus on the other one. So I'd highly recommend you get HEMIVOROUS to fly before fighting Vemiferous, and also because when they're flying, it is a lot easier to avoid the attacks. The ground attacks are a lot more unavoidable than the air attacks. So if you're doing this solo, obviously you're going to want to have to keep moving around the arena as much as you possibly can, because there will be an onslaught of attacks around the entire arena, just because there's two raid bosses attacking you, along with all the mobs they are spawning. And also, patience is key in this fight. If you don't get the damage output that you really want, you just got to keep going. They're very tanky bosses. They will consume a lot of ammo, needless to say. Now, if you're playing with your friends, have at least one of your friends have a boss heavy build, and have one of them have a mob heavy build. In the gameplay, I was playing Zane, and I was dealing with all the extra mobs that these two bosses were spawning with my digiclone and everything, while my brother was playing Flak, focusing primarily on the bosses themselves. If your role is the mobber, just get the bosses to target you so your other friend can really do the damage. So after you get HEMIVOROUS flying, and the attacks are a lot easier to avoid, that's when you should start focusing on Vemiferous. Vemiferous, you're going to want to keep focusing him until he's dead. So Vemiferous is pretty much the same exact thing as HEMIVOROUS, really. Same thing, once his armor bar is halfway down, it will start to fly, and after getting rid of its entire armor bar, it'll go back down the ground, and pretty much, I mean, just keep shooting it until it dies. I'll go over what kind of weapons and what kind of elements you might need in this fight later, but just keep fighting it until it dies, and just keep moving around the stage. The mobber and bosser roles are very important in this fight if you're playing with your friends. If you're playing solo, obviously it's going to be a lot harder than it would be to play with your friends, but if you're playing solo, just get one of them flying and just be patient, because this entire fight is complete chaos. So after you kill Vemiferous or HEMIVOROUS, whoever you decide to focus on first, kill the other one. It makes the entire fight a whole lot easier once one of them is dead. And then just focus on the other boss and do the same thing every single run you want to do this. It takes me about 5-6 minutes to do it. It's a good fight. It's complete chaos. I have no idea what's happening half the time. Now, moving on to elements that you're going to need in this boss fight. Fire and Corrosive, they both have armor bars, which is their first health bar, which Corrosive is good against, and then they have a normal red health bar, which Fire is good against. So I would highly recommend those two elements. Now, for recommended weapons, I would go with the Light Show, the Monarch, the Backburner, Hellwalker for mobbing, and the Plasma Coil for mobbing. The Light Show, Monarch, and Backburner are more for bossing rather than mobbing. I mean, you could use both the Monarch and Light Show for mobbing as well, but the Hellwalker and Plasma Coil seem to do a better job at that. Any of the 4 Vault Hunters are good enough to even beat this boss, so just make sure your skill tree is fully decked out in what you want it to do, which is pretty much mostly DPS. So make sure you know how to use your build correctly. I can't really help you on that, considering a million other people have a million different builds. So that's on your end to make sure you know what to do with your and how to use your build. On a side note, I do know there are new and better legendaries than the weapons I just recommended, but I haven't had the chance to use them or even obtain them yet. So I would just, I mean, to be safe, if you have those weapons I just mentioned, just go for it, use those. But if you have the newer and better ones, like I think the Kickstarter is the equivalent to a Backburner, but times 2, I would highly recommend that too. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for today's video, guys. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, as it also does help this channel grow. Subscribe if you are new for more Borderlands content. Let me know what you thought about this video. I might have a different video coming out later on in the month, maybe, the more and more I learn about this boss fight. But for right now, this is my current strategy, is to get one of them flying and then focusing on the other one until that one's dead. Again, the boss fight gets a hell of a lot easier once one of them is actually dead. I mean, just do what I said, and it's pretty... It'll become a cakewalk eventually, the more and more you do it. But anyways, that's pretty much it. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for almost 5,000 subscribers. And yeah, it's been Insanity. I'll see you guys later.